Welcome to a tutorial video on JavaScript basics. In this video, I'm going to talk about data types and arrays. As I discussed in the previous video, JavaScript supports data like numbers and strings. And we can use those when we're creating variables using the keyword var, V-A-R, to set initial values of the variables to numbers, to strings, and even combinations of numbers and strings when we use those as part of operations. In the previous video, we set an initial value of a variable to the combination of one value of a variable plus another number. This result was 36, and we showed that. Well, in JavaScript, we can also create variables with the initial value of a special type of data called an array. In programming terminology, an array is a sequence of data. It's defined in JavaScript, like many other languages, using square brackets. We see here on line 1, we're creating a variable array value, notice the keyword var, V-A-R, and setting its initial value to a sequence of data. Using the square brackets, we see a comma delineates, shows a difference from one entry to the next. So array value, this variable, is equal to an array with the values 1, 2, 5, and 8 in that order. Order matters in arrays. It is a sequence of data with a very specific ordering. Ordering is important because in JavaScript, like some other programming languages, ordering starts with 0. The first entry has an index of 0. So if we want to know where it is, we can address it using the first index, 0. So the positioning of 1, 2, 5, and 8 is 0, 1, 2, and 3. It has 4 entries total with positioning of 0, 1, 2, and 3 because positioning starts with 0. We see on line 3 a second array, and this array shows a very important aspect of arrays within JavaScript. They don't have to contain the same type of data. They contain a mixture of different data types. We mentioned in the first video, and I reviewed at the beginning of this, that we can set variables to the value of numbers and also strings. So we see here on line 3 an array where the first entry, the 0 position, is equal to the string hello. The second number, the first position, is equal to 4.5, and the third entry, the second position, is equal to 8. So just like I reviewed in the first array, hello would be the 0 index, 4.5 would be the 1 index, and 8 would be the 2 index. 3 entries starting with the 0 position. We can also, as an even more complex way of addressing things, put arrays into arrays. Arrays can have their own arrays, which can have their own arrays, which can have their own arrays. And it can get a little bit confusing. But it's known in programming terminology as a multi-dimensional array. That is, it can have a single dimension, as we saw in the first example on line 1, a sequence of data. It can also have multiple dimensions where certain entries have their own arrays. So we can think about it then as an array of arrays. So I mentioned that we can address certain indexes, positions, as I described it, they start at 0 and increase by 1 as they go on. And I also mentioned that in arrays, positioning, indexing is important because we need to be able to access that data. The way we access that data is by using its position, its index within the sequence of data. We see here on line 7, we can access the 0 index, the first entry, by with square brackets listing the number. So we see in second array value, which is defined on line 3, its 0 position here, is hello, which we see over here. So again, it starts at 0 and progresses upwards, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. And so the first entry is the 0 position, the 0 index. So if we want the first thing, hello, of second array value to find here on line 3, we use 0 with square brackets after it. So we say, in this array, find this index. 0 is equal to hello. I also mentioned we can put arrays into arrays. And so if we want to access the position of an array that's already in an array, then all we have to do is add square brackets after that initial indexing. So we see here on line 9, similar to line 7, we're looking for the second entry, the first position, within the third array value. Within third array value, defined here on line 5, it's an array. Notice the square brackets around this series of data. So initially it would say, okay, that's an array, and would give us an array right here. Then we say, oh no, in that array, give us the first position, which is the second entry, which is 2. So we can say third array value, first, and then first. And we already see that over here on the right-hand side, 2. Again, that's the second entry, first position, second entry, first position of its internal array. So arrays can have arrays, and we can address them as such to get, as part of that sequence of data, that position or that index. So as a review, JavaScript supports different data types. One of the more complex types is something called an array. An array is a sequence of data where the ordering is important. We can access different positions, different index within the sequence by using their position information, or their indexical value. We reviewed how indexes start at arrays start with an index of 0, a position of 0. So that's the first entry. So whenever we want to know where this certain data is within the sequence, we can refer to its position, its index within that sequence by using the square brackets after the variable holding the value of that array to get its data. We saw that on line 1, where we defined an initial array with 4 values. On line 3, an array with mixed data types, where it didn't matter because JavaScript can support those arrays. And even on line 5, with an array with mixed data types and an array where its entries were other arrays. And I describe that as a multi-dimensional array in programming terminology. We reviewed on line 7 and line 9 how we can get the indexes, the position of certain data within that sequence by using square brackets, remembering of course that arrays start with 0 in JavaScript, and we can even get the position, the indexical value of data within a sequence when an array is within an array by using square brackets and that index after that initial request. And we saw that on line 9 with 2 sets of square brackets opening and closing around the positions of the data we wanted in an array of arrays. Thanks for watching.